Well, hello. I am going to try to record a little deck walkthrough for you for the Epic Tarot because I never see anybody talk about this deck and I adore this deck. I know I haven't made any videos in a while. I did decide to stop doing the daily tarot videos. They're still posted on my blog. And usually for my daily draw I do a quick little video on Instagram as well, so you can see them at either place. For Instagram I am at Mystic Moon Sage, and then my blog posts are at mysticmoonreadings.wordpress.com. So feel free to take a look there if you'd like to see my daily draws. The daily video is getting to be a little too much, so I apologize for that. So let's look at the Epic Tarot. Here's the box. So it's a Lo Scarabo deck. I don't know how to say that name, but that's what we're gonna go with. That's what it is. Kind of a Asian art style. I don't want to get it wrong. I think it's kind of a manga art style, but I could be completely off base on that. My cat just jumped up here, by the way. Riccardo Minetti and Paolo Martinello are two other names there. I don't know how they're related, but okay. It is a tarot deck. It's not an oracle deck. My cat is sniffing the camera. Stop it, Ashy. Ashy, no. It does come in a traditional, sort of a box. It's not a very heavy-duty box. You can see, like, there's already some damage right here. Cat. Okay, see, my cat just tried to knock the camera over. Rudeness right there, kitty cat. Rudeness. This is a paw right here. Anyway, it's not a very hefty box, and I do intend on putting it in something else. It does come with two little cards, This is an invitation to the Tarot Association with a 15% discount in your first year. And this is a quote from the Odyssey. It says, "Yea, and if some god shall wreck me in the wine-dark deep, even so I will endure. For already have I suffered full much, and much have I toiled in perils of waves and war. Let this be added to the tale of those." So, fun times. Alright, let me see. Give me just a moment. Look, that's my kitty. I'm just trying to get my best little setup here. I think my camera's a little... That should be better. Well, I don't want the lights on it. I do not know how people do completely overhead shots, not gonna lie. Well, I do know there's a setup you can do where you can have like a tripod and then you can have like an arm. I don't have that, so we're going with this, okay? I am gonna show you the book a little bit here. It is a little white book, so there's not much to it. And it only goes to page 22. After that it just switches languages. I think that's pretty common for Lo Scarabo's decks, from what I've seen. What I do love about this book, and excuse my bad looking nails, I just took my nail polish off. What I love about this book though is that every card has a title, and I love it, especially in the minor arcana. Like, for example, the Magician, the Child of Mankind, the High Priestess, the Keeper of Mysteries, the Empress, the Mother of Hope. I love the titles of these cards. So, the four suits in this deck are, instead of pentacles, it's spheres. Instead of cups, it's chalices, which that's not a big deal. Swords are swords, wands are books, and I'll show you when I get to it the actual little symbol for it is actually a wand laying on a book, but they decided to call it books. No problem. I am going to be telling you the title of each one because I just love it. Hopefully I can figure out a way to keep this. I do like this spread that comes in the book. It's called The Epic Tale of Your Life. So the positions in it are, where are you now? Where you are now, I reverse those two words. Where you are heading, your biggest challenge, how to face the challenge, your biggest reward, how to be worthy of the reward. And this is the actual diagram of the spread. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can also see here it tells you what the court cards are because they are different. The king is actually a dragon, the queen is a phoenix, the knight is a griffin, and the knave or page is a unicorn. So it actually tells you though that this is a fantasy world. It says it here. Where there are 3 gods, knowledge, creativity, war, and 3 goddesses, magic, receptivity, and love. And each of these manifests in a different form. So it tells you, like the magician, wheel, and devil are seekers. The high priestess, hangman, and star are magic. The empress, strength, and moon are receptive. Like, it tells you how each of them kind of fits into these little categories that they've created, which have to do with material, intellectual, and spiritual planes. I just think it's a really cool concept. I really think it's pretty awesome. So, yeah, let's look at the cards, right? Let's take a look. And I will tell you the titles as I'm going. Hopefully I will be able to do this. We shall see. Alright, the Fool. I'm trying to make sure my light doesn't... There we go. The Fool. Not my favorite card in the deck. That's alright. I do see that it's someone starting on their journey. So that's fine with me. The Magician. He's sort of wandering around in the desert, it appears. It's called The Child of Mankind is the title of this one. The Empress is the Mother of Hope. I'm sorry, the High Priestess. Empress is next. The High Priestess is the Mother of Hope. The Emperor... Wow, guys, I can't keep my crap together. Okay, the High Priestess is the Keeper of Mysteries. Okay, it makes sense. She's got little books. Looks like she's got some arcane knowledge going. The Empress, and this is somewhat traditional imagery. You know, the pregnant woman kind of... Some people like the Empress as being out in nature, which she is. So she is the Mother of Hope. Now, I do want to say one thing. I have seen some websites that say this deck is based on Rider-Waite system, but I've seen others say it's based on its own system. What I have personally found is that when you look at the meanings of the cards and the imagery of the cards, it seems like they started with Rider-Waite and then kind of went off on their own. And I'll show you what I mean by some of the cards that, to me, have a completely different meaning than Rider-Waite. So here's the Empress, the Mother of Hope. Next we have the Emperor. He is the Father of Fire. And what this card focuses on is actually him being the one that gave humankind their gift of fire, rather than, you know, order and leader and that sort of thing. The Hierophant is the Saint without guilt. You can see there is some religious imagery on here, but not a lot. I don't feel like he's that religious. And what the description of this card says is it's to remind you that you carry a spark of the divine. So, Oh, there's the back of the cards too. I guess I should have showed you that, shouldn't I? They are reversible if you like reversed. The book does not give you reverse meanings though. Here are the lovers. They do appear to be rather passionately in love. And it is called the Divine Lover. The Chariot is called the Eternal Soldier. Strength I find very interesting. It is not the traditional symbolism, obviously, of a woman and a lion, or even of a woman and any kind of beast. I honestly can't tell for certain if this figure is male or female, and it doesn't matter. You can see they're holding a mirror with a reflection of what looks like a bear or some sort of beast. What this card tells you is that you don't need to fight other people directly, that you should be a compassionate reflection and show people themselves, and that is the strongest action you can take. So I find this a very interesting interpretation of the Strength card. Then we have the Hermit. I like this. Not a traditional hermit card. The title is The Sacred Beggar. Okay. The Wheel of Fortune I find interesting too. I find it has some interesting imagery. It's called The Returning. And what it specifically says is that while circumstances may seem to change, unless you change, everything stays the same. And we have Justice. This is the cover artwork too. This big, large figure of justice with a sword and the scales and the people standing down here. It's called the Guardian of Order, is the title they gave this card. Here is the Hanged Man. You can see the serpent. There's his head. It's called The Lady of Visions, is the title they gave this card. And it talks about wisdom and mysteries in the description. So a little different than a typical Hanged Man card. Here's Death. The title of this card is The Child of Tears. I find this to be an interesting card. You can see some people here that appear to have died. Looks like this is maybe a battlefield. There's smoke in the background. There's like banners and spears. I find it to be really interesting. Temperance. Not traditional imagery of temperance either. Of course, traditional is the pouring the cups or the liquid going back and forth kind of thing. The title of this card, though, is The Waiting Princess. And it talks about how, you know, the world might be chaotic and spinning, but when you connect to your center and focus on a truth, it can ground you. Here we have the Devil in this deck. Obviously very different symbolism than the traditional. There is a chain here, but you know, traditionally there's a devil figure and two people chained to him. The title of this card, though, is Chained Demon. And it does talk about locking part of ourselves up and how we shouldn't do that. Here is the Tower. You do have the tower in the background with the lightning hitting it, but in the foreground we have this figure pointing at the tower, and I don't know what's up with this eye right here. It's not my favorite thing ever because I'm not a fan of eyes. Eyes in weird places, I should say. The title of this card is Devouring Thunder. It's interesting. Here is the Star. It's called Glimpse of the Divine. I find this interesting because you don't actually see a star on the card. There's a big red flower here. There's this kind of beam of light shining down on her. But you don't actually see a star in it. And again, it's called Glimpse of the Divine. And it's a reminder that the divine is all around us. Here we have the moon. I do think this is great symbolism of the moon. The title is The Maiden Behind the Mirror. And it's a reminder that you think you're seeing reality, but what you're seeing are your own projections, that you need to look around the mirror. And I think that's a really good card for the moon, or a really good symbolism for the moon. You can see the moon back there in the background. Here we have the sun. See, there's a rather large sun in the card. The title of this one is The Prince of Light. Completely different imagery than a traditional sun card, obviously. Here we have Judgment. We have a family, and this appears to be, I don't know what. I don't know if this is a being or like a statue. The title of the card is The Angel of Destiny. And you can see this family here. And last we have the World. If you look, you can see all four court cards, or not, yeah, all four court cards. Unicorn, the Griffin, the Phoenix, and the Dragon that I mentioned, which are the Page, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. So they're all here with her. And there's this staircase behind her. The name of this card is the Queen of the Heavenly Stair. And it says, once you have found all your lost parts, released all that hides your divine spark, and embraced the magic song of life, you will be allowed to climb the stairway to the next phase of the journey. I think it's really cool. Alright. We'll put those off to the side. I do want to show real quick. This is the chalices. You see how the border is different? This has kind of a gold border and this is a blue border. Every suit has a different border, so watch for that. Alright, here is our Ace of Chalices. It's called the Chalice Recognized. The Two of Chalices, the Chalice Shared. And you can see two people sharing a chalice here. Three of Chalices is called the Chalice That Binds. You can see them kind of circling around a chalice in the middle. The Four of Chalices is called the Chalice Lost. And you can see this sort of mythical looking creature has taken this person's chalice. The Five of Chalices, the Chalice Empty. The Six of Chalices, the Chalice Claimed. This is actually a card about conflict. You notice these two are fighting over a chalice just like these two statues are. The Seven of Chalices, the Chalice Dreamt. The Eight of Chalices, the Chalice Preserved. I've actually never had this card come up in a reading yet. The Nine of Chalices, I actually really love this card. I have had this one come up quite a bit. It's called the Chalice Provides. And you can see how he is kind of trying to get every last drop out of there. And what it reminds you is the chalice has just enough to get you through. So always remember that. The Ten of Chalices is called the Chalice Fulfilled. And you can see there's a dragon, a unicorn, a phoenix, and a griffin in the tin. All the court cards, and these children appear to be playing. The court cards. Here is the Unicorn of Chalices. Now, one thing I wish they would have done more in these court cards is I feel like there's really very little like symbolism or imagery to look at and sort of intuit your own meaning. You know what I mean? Like you literally just have a unicorn standing here over a chalice. That really doesn't tell you anything about the meaning of the card, right? It just really doesn't. So I do wish they had more symbolism on the court cards. I feel like for the court cards I always have to consult the book until I've learned them better. So the Unicorn of Chalices is titled The Pure Chalice. The Griffin of Chalices is called the Chalice in Action. The Phoenix of Chalices is called the Chalice Renewed. And last is the Dragon of Chalices and is called the Chalice Strong. So just to show you real quick, here's how the border changes between the chalice and the spheres. So we're moving on to the spheres now. You can see it has a green border. I don't think these borders detract from the cards at all, so I don't think this deck really needs to be trimmed in my opinion. So we have the Ace of Spheres. It is titled The Sphere Is. Very nice golden sphere there in the forest. Put the chalices up there. Alright, the sphere is. There's like a little mossy thing stuck in my house all of a sudden. Huh. Alright, the Two of Spheres is titled The Sphere Balanced. And you can see this sphere appears to be rolling down the trunk of the tree, and it kind of looks like he's trying to reach for it, like going after it. And there's another little mythical creature here. The Three of Spheres, the Sphere Elevated. And you can see they are elevating that sphere now, aren't they? This Four of Spheres, I've had this one come up quite a bit. It's called the Sphere Unmoved. And it talks about that if you leave something alone for too long, it will put down roots, like these spheres have done, and then you'll be unable to move it. The Five of Spheres, called the Sphere Denied. The Six of Spheres is called the Sphere Shared. I'm not quite sure what all's happening here. There's a very large figure here reaching down. Doesn't appear to be threatening her. The Seven of Spheres. The Sphere Yet to Come. You can see she's pregnant here. And they appear to be planting a seed as well. The Eight of Spheres. The Sphere Entangled. You can see he's kind of combing through her hair. The Nine of Spheres. I've actually had this one come up quite a bit in readings. The Sphere Achieved. There's a little snail down here. A bird on her shoulder. This is just a little strange to me though, the face on the tree. The Ten of Spheres. So this would be like equivalent to the Ten of Pentacles. Normally the Ten of Pentacles shows like a happy family or something like that. This one is called the Sphere Integrated. And I feel like it's kind of like, what's the word? It's really vague language in the description for this particular card. This is what it says. The potential of all life is not separate from the life that exists. It is in the roots of the earth and in our ancestors. It is here now in you. It is waiting in the souls of those yet to live. Okay. That sounds like, I don't know, something that, you know, some hermit on top of a mountain would tell you for life advice, and then you have to go out and figure out what the hell that actually means. At least to me it does. Here's the Unicorn of Spheres. Again, the court cards are very simple. It is the beast or creature, a background, and you know, the sphere, or in this case it's spheres, whatever it may be. Here's the Griffin of Spheres in a forest. The Phoenix of Spheres, again in a forest. Makes sense, since spheres are Earth. And the Dragon of Spheres. Nice little waterfall behind him. And let's compare borders again. So here are the books. You can see the books have a gold border as compared to the spheres with the green one. So let's put these up here. Alright, here we have the Ace of Books. And see what I was telling you? The symbol for books is a book with a wand over it. But they still call it books instead of wands. So, the title of this card is The Book Opened. I find it very interesting. This looks like a human hand, and this looks like more of a mechanical hand. Which you'll notice as we go through the books. There's a lot of mechanical constructs in the book's suit, which I find interesting. Here is the Two of Books. It is called The Book Not Yet Written. You can see there's a book and there's like an inkwell right there. You see these kind of mechanical legs coming out though? The Three of Books is called The Book Chosen. These people look to be asleep to me. Just my thoughts. It's a little book like they fell asleep reading or something. The Four of Books is The Book Abandoned. See, it looks like she's walking through a city. The Five of Books, The Book Attacked. You can see she's holding the book very close to her, and there's all these figures around her that appear to be threatening. And you can see they have sort of mechanical looking faces. Like they're not human. Like this hand is very mechanical too. They're holding different tools, a hammer. I forget what that's called. A compass? In math, you know, you use it to draw circles and stuff. I think it's a compass. I can't remember. The Six of Books. Now this is one I actually get a lot, and it's one of the first ones I came across that deviates from traditional Rider-Waite. So this is the Six of Books, which would normally be the Six of Wands, right? Ashy, what are you doing? He's doing things he shouldn't. Ashy! Ashy, come here. Don't make me get up and come get you. Oh, hang on, I have to go get my child. What are you doing? I'm gonna need you to behave. Oh, the joys of being a cat owner sometimes. Alright, sorry about that. So, this would be equivalent to the Six of Wands. And in traditional Rider-Waite, the Six of Wands is about victory, right? The kind of victory could change depending on the reading. Sometimes it may be a victory with rather large consequences. It's not necessarily always a positive card, but it is generally about victory. This, however, what this card is about, it's called The Book Connects, and it's about messages from the world beyond. You can see there's sort of a magical creature here. I see this as being a metaphor for the veil between worlds, and this creature being in the other world, giving messages to this person who is going to write them down. At least that's how I see this card. The Seven of Books, another mechanical creature, and it is called The Book Forgotten. The Eight of Books is called The Book Creates. You can see he appears to be coming up out of the book. The Nine of Books is one of the biggest examples of some sort of mechanical construct, called The Book Controls. And the Ten of Books is called The Book Compels. And this is again one of those that's completely different meanings than traditional Rider-Waite. So this would be the Ten of Wands. And normally you see like a man, you know, with 10 wands on his back, like overburdened. And that's generally what it's talking about. You finished what you needed to finish, but you've taken on too much. You're overburdened. You need to, you know, give some to someone else or something. This, however, is called The Book Compels, and what it says is when all aspects of yourself are integrated, you can see the whole story from the points of view of all characters. You can also see that there is really no end of the story, so you keep writing. I thought that was an interesting take on it. Here's the Unicorn of Books, the Griffin of Books. My cat is attacking my foot under the table. The Phoenix of Books. Well, one of my cats is actually laying right over there on the table. The other one is under the table attacking my feet. And last we have the Dragon of Books. And just to again show the border difference, here is the first sword card. You can see this has kind of a white border. Hey, that's my foot, child. Could you get your claw out of it? Thanks. Alright. Put the books up there. Let's start on the swords, shall we? Oh, I forgot to tell you the titles of the court cards. So the Unicorn is The Book Begins. The Griffin is The Confusing Book. The Phoenix is The Book Left Behind. And the King is The Book Controls. Alright, now, swords, our last suit. Here we have the Ace of Swords, and it is called the Sword Presented. Here we have the Two of Swords, and it's called the Sword Has Two Sides. It's still about making a choice, like the traditional Two of Swords is. The imagery is just different. The Three of Swords, completely different imagery. It is called The Sword Weighs Heavy, and it is still about learning a painful truth. But completely different imagery, obviously. The Four of Swords is called The Sword at Rest. Very similar meaning to the traditional. You can see it looks like she's been in a battle and is now resting. The Five of Swords is called The Sword Refused. He apparently is going to jump off that cliff with those wings he's made. I don't think that's a good idea. The Six of Swords is called The Sword Inspires. See, he appears to be maybe throwing his sword off the cliff. The Seven of Swords. I find this imagery interesting because depending on your frame of mind in the question, this could mean multiple things. It's called the Secret Sword, and it's talking about things are not always what they seem. And you can see this person, for some reason my mind goes to she immediately, but you really can't tell, is holding a sword behind their back. This giant is potentially threatening them. They also have a shield here. So there's different things that could play out. You know, maybe they're trying to bargain with the giant first. Maybe they're hiding that sword so the giant doesn't know they're actually, you know, they have a weapon. I don't know, but it's called the Secret Sword, which makes sense. The Eight of Swords is called the Enigma of the Sword. And it's actually rather interesting. You see this giant creature. This woman's chained up. There's a sword sticking in the creature's chest. But you see the creature also appears to be holding a flower. And what the description says is, when in a difficult situation with no apparent way out, the solution can be found in the least obvious place. Find out what is causing the pain of your attacker and heal it. So I really like this card for that. The Nine of Swords. This actually still has a really similar meaning to the Nine of Swords traditionally. It just looks so much different. So here she's being trapped by her own thoughts, and then it takes the form of a hand. And what it says is you're clutched in the grasp. It's called The Sword Fails. I don't know if I said that. I've already forgotten. It says, clutched in the grasp of thoughts that hold you prisoner, using the same logic and premises that bound you will only tighten the grasp. The sword is not the right one for this purpose. So get you to think in different ways. The Ten of Swords looks completely different. Like every other 10 card so far, you see all 4 court cards here represented. And this Ten of Swords, it's still called the sword's work is done. It's still talking about it being completed, but it's talking about how everyone coming to an understanding, is in agreement, healing begins, that sort of thing. And last, we have our court cards for the sword. Here's the unicorn. It's called the Sword of Truth. The Griffin of Swords is called the Sword in Action. The Phoenix of Swords is called the Sword Tempered. And then the King of Swords is called the Sword Wielded. So that is it. Let me show you again all of these suits and such together. Let me try to pick this up so the lights. So here's the major arcana. They have a gold border. Here are the cups. They have this light blue border. The spheres have a green border. The books have a gold border. And the swords have a white border. So, I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope I did okay on my first little deck walkthrough for you guys. I didn't really want to call it a review because I've been using this for a while and I love it. And that's my review. I love it. I mainly just wanted to show the deck off since I've never seen anyone else talk about it. So yeah, that's it. I will see you in my next video. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, day, night, whatever you have going on. Take care. Bye.